Hello, my magnificent Leo souls, and welcome back to Cosmic Wisdom. Gather close, you radiant hearts, because today we are venturing into the very core of your brilliant light, and we must speak of a shadow that is attempting to return. Are you ready to hear something that might shake you, but will ultimately empower you beyond measure? There is an energy from your past, a chilling whisper from a time when your roar was quieted, that is trying to find its way back into your kingdom. This isn't about a simple person knocking at your door. Oh no, this is far deeper. This is a test of your sovereignty. A spectral memory of a woman who could not bear the glorious heat of your sun is trying to see if she can once again convince you to dim your own light. But let me tell you right now, beautiful Leo, this time is different. Why? Because you are different. The throne you sit upon is forged from the lessons you have learned, and the crown upon your head is heavier, brighter, and more secure than ever before. Do you feel that fire stirring in your heart right now? That primal instinct telling you that your reign will not be challenged. That is your soul agreeing with the truth of the cosmos. If you feel this resonance deep within you, I want you to join me in setting a powerful intention. In the comments below, let me know you are here and ready by typing, "I am ready," to receive luck from the universe. And if you haven't already, please press that subscribe button and become a part of our Cosmic Wisdom community. We are on this journey together, and I want to ensure you never miss these essential cosmic truths tailored just for you. In this journey today, we are not going to dissect who was right or wrong in the past. That is a game for mortals, and you, Leo, are here for a divine purpose. Instead, we will go deeper. We will explore why your magnificent radiance makes those who live in shadow so profoundly uncomfortable. We will uncover why the silence you were once forced into is now the very thing that terrifies them. In part 1, you will see with absolute clarity, she doesn't want you to be unhappy. She simply cannot stand that you have built a kingdom of joy without her permission. You will understand that it's time to end this cycle, not with a roar of anger, but with the blinding, undeniable light of your sovereign self. There are certain shadows, my dear Leos, that don't leave with footsteps. They don't close doors behind them or offer a final, courteous goodbye. Instead, they linger like a cold draft in a sunlit room, unseen but deeply felt, slipping through the cracks of your memory, especially in the quiet of the night. And you, magnificent Leo, with your heart that feels so grandly and so deeply, you sense this more than anyone. Perhaps you no longer see her face, and her name is a distant echo in your mind. The manipulative messages wrapped in false admiration have long since ceased, but your royal intuition, that divine compass in your soul, knows. It knows with a certainty that rattles your bones that a woman from your past is trying to reconnect with your energy. Not with her hands, but with her thoughts. Not with her words, but with the haunting vibration of an old wound she inflicted upon your pride. And what's truly unnerving isn't that she wants to return. It's that you once allowed her to stay, to occupy a space in your royal court for far too long. You, the generous ruler, gave too much of your light, Leo. You offered warmth to someone who only sought to control your flame. You held a regal smile while your noble heart was fracturing inside. You chose a dignified silence to keep a fragile peace, only to carry the deepest wound of all, the wound of being unseen, of your magnificent light being taken for granted. You might have called it loyalty or even love, But true love, true devotion, never asks a lion to become a lamb. It never demands that you shrink your glorious mane or soften your powerful roar just to make someone else feel comfortable or powerful. That wasn't love, my dear friend. That was a coup, an attempt to usurp your throne, dressed in the guise of affection. A great master once taught that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. But light doesn't mean surrender. It doesn't mean allowing someone to trespass upon the sacred grounds of your kingdom, your soul. Forgiveness? Of course, you've given that. A Leo's heart is as generous as the sun itself, but allowing them to linger in your energetic field, to cast their shadow upon your light. That is a privilege that is no longer granted. You can feel it, can't you? A subtle disquiet in the air, a feeling that someone is thinking of you, not with warmth, but with envy. That is not a delusion, Leo. It is not paranoia from a dramatic spirit. It is your royal intuition. And the intuition of a king or queen never, ever lies. You are the ruler of your own domain, and you know when a foreign energy is at your gates. You know that feeling isn't love. It's a desperate fear. It is her fear of your growth, of the new brilliance you now radiate, of the undeniable fact that your light is no longer hers to control. The heartbreaking truth, my friends, is that some people only feel tall when they are standing in your shadow. You once remained silent, not because you were weak, but because you sought harmony. You wanted to preserve the peace between two souls who once shared a connection. But that dignified silence was misinterpreted. She believed it meant she could return, that you would open the gates again even after she had betrayed your trust. She thought you were still the same Leo, the one who might once have compromised your own brilliance out of love, out of duty, or out of a simple, heartbreaking habit. And that is why this energy is returning. Not because she loves you, but to see if your throne is still so easily approached. Forgiveness without boundaries, my dear Leo, is the most insidious trap for a generous heart like yours. It's a way to keep you small, but your soul, a soul that has been reborn through fire time and time again, is weary of that game. Today, you are being called by the cosmos to reset the borders of your kingdom. Not with rage, not with war, but with an unshakable love for yourself. The lesson here isn't revenge. It's not about proving your power. It is about a royal decree of release. Knowing this, you can say, I forgive what has passed, but I no longer grant anyone a place in my energy who does not celebrate my light. I do not need to entertain shadows just because I once showed them warmth. If this stirs something deep within your fiery heart, it's because your soul has known this all along. Only now, you are finally ready to hear it again, with a heart that has grown courageous and a crown that sits straight and true. You owe no one an explanation. You do not need to apologize for fortifying your kingdom. You are the ruler. She, that woman, that shadow, no longer has any power over you because you no longer live in the memory of the eclipse she tried to create. You are living in your own magnificent, self-generated light. And that light, my beautiful Leo, is what terrifies the darkness. There are wounds, my magnificent Leos, that don't bleed. Instead, they tarnish the gold of your crown and quiet the mighty roar in your chest. There are sorrows not born from the present, yet they silently influence every decision you make, every stage you choose to step upon. And there are people who have long since exited your life, yet their shadows still linger in your energy field, as if they stole a piece of your sunlight when they left. You thought you had moved on. You are a Leo, after all. You rise from the ashes with grace and power. You cried, you roared, you healed, you forgave. But why is it that a certain song, a fleeting memory, or a dream in the dead of night can still bring back that tightness in your chest, that feeling of your inner fire being dampened? It is not because you are weak, it is because you were never truly set free from the memory of being diminished. Here is the cosmic truth. It isn't her that is truly coming back. It is the part of you that was silenced, the part of your magnificent spirit that was told it was too much, that is now finally demanding to be heard. She, the woman from your past, doesn't need to be physically present to wound you. The memory she left behind, the subtle blame, the controlling affection, the gaze that made you question the very brilliance of your own light. It all took root far deeper than you realized. And now, as you begin to truly love yourself, as you dare to shine unapologetically, to say no to anything that does not honor your worth, that old shadow energy grows confused, it grows afraid, and so it tries to return, not to heal, but to test you, to ask, have you really reclaimed your throne, Leo? You are a soul gifted with an incredible inner compass, a sense of pride and self-worth that is meant to guide you. Others may call it ego, but only you know it is your divine connection to the sun, a way to recognize anything that seeks to create an eclipse in your life. And that compass is trembling now, because an unseen force is trying to pull you back into an old orbit, one that revolves around someone else's comfort instead of your own brilliance. Take a step back for a moment and look at the times you've forgiven. Did you truly forgive from a place of sovereign power? Or did you offer a pardon simply to make the other person feel comfortable, to avoid a scene? Did you truly let go? Or did you merely suppress your righteous anger because you didn't want to be labeled as too dramatic? And then, did you blame yourself for still feeling the sting of betrayal, for still aching for the respect you were denied? Stop blaming yourself, dear Leo. Pain does not vanish just because you pretend it isn't there. Your heart is not a stage for someone else's drama. It is the sacred beating heart of a kingdom. In many spiritual teachings, there's a concept of energetic cords, invisible attachments to old emotions and memories. We cling to them, even when they've hurt us, because a part of us fears the void that letting go might create. And that is what keeps you bound. The fear of being abandoned by the very story that wounded you. The universe does not teach us to endure disrespect with a smile. It teaches us to embody our own light so fiercely that disrespect cannot find a foothold. It teaches us to open our hearts, yes, but not to open the gates of our kingdom to those who carry daggers hidden in bouquets of praise. So lift your head, straighten your crown, and declare, I do not hate them, but I will no longer allow their shadow to define the reach of my light. You once called it loyalty, but loyalty should never cost you your self-respect. It should not make you second-guess your own magnificent shine. True love, true admiration, never makes you question your own value. It basks in it. Maybe you tried to explain their behavior, to make excuses for them. They're just insecure, you might have said. But Leo, compassion should never become your cage. You can understand another's darkness without allowing it to dim your own light. Emotional independence is a profoundly spiritual act. It is telling the universe, I believe I am worthy of a love that celebrates me, that requires no negotiation of my own brilliance. It is choosing peace, not by avoiding conflict, but by walking through it to the other side, where you can shine without needing to explain why your light is so bright. And you know what? The deepest part of you, the part that still remembers the sting of being overlooked, is waiting for you to see it, to honor it, and to whisper, "We don't need to pretend we're okay with being less than we are anymore. We just need to be our full, magnificent selves." Maybe you have been silent for too long, and that silence made the darkness think you were still easily swayed. But you are not the same. You no longer bow for validation. You no longer strain to maintain a connection that is already spiritually dead. You are no longer afraid of people leaving your orbit, because you have finally learned how to be the sun in your own universe. And the return of this old ghost is not a punishment. It is a sacred opportunity, a final cosmic test to end a karmic cycle. Your soul is now strong enough to no longer react. You only need to recognize the shadow and then turn your face back to your own sun. There are patterns, my dear Leos, that did not begin with you, yet they yearn to end through you. They are not written in history books, but they live quietly in your bloodline, in the echo of your roar, in the beating of your royal heart. On nights when you feel a strange sense of dissatisfaction, even when all is well. There are stories of uncrowned kings and queens, of stifled brilliance and silenced power that you can almost feel in your grandmother's determined gaze or your father's unspoken frustrations. And then one day, you realize perhaps you are the first one awake enough to stop it, to no longer live inside a story of diminished light that was never truly yours. Your soul, dear Leo, did not choose this life by accident. It is no coincidence that you were born with such a magnificent, radiant spirit, a burning desire to create, to lead, and to shine. And it is no coincidence that you feel so deeply wounded when that light is challenged or ignored. You are not just living for yourself. Within your spirit is the fire of all those who came before you, who were told they were too much, too loud, or too bright. The leaders in your lineage, the artists, the visionaries who were forced to shrink, to compromise their grand visions for the sake of peace. They were not weak. They simply lived in a world that wasn't ready for their sun. But you are, and for that very reason, you are the chosen one. You may have heard people say, "Don't be so dramatic," or "Let the past go." But some wounds, if not exposed to the light of truth, will continue to fester in the shadows of a family line. They will seek out the brightest soul to cling to, and that soul is you. Not because you are a target, but because you are strong enough to feel it, brilliant enough to see it, and courageous enough to finally heal it. Today, a profound truth is being revealed. The pain you're holding, that fear of not being seen or celebrated for who you truly are, is not entirely your own. Some of it began long before you were born. It comes from unspoken ambitions, from sacrifices made in the name of duty that extinguished a creative fire, from powerful voices that were silenced. But you cannot simply ignore these echoes because your soul won't allow it. The universe has placed a sacred covenant upon you. It ends here. The light is reclaimed right now through you. In spiritual traditions, this is often called ancestral karma. It's not a curse. It is an energetic inheritance, a chain of suppressed potential and unfulfilled destinies passed from one generation to the next. And it will keep searching for a soul with enough fire to finally burn through the chains. That soul, my magnificent Leo, is you. You are not a victim in this story. You are the hero. You are the one whose energy is pure enough, whose heart is brave enough to break the cycle, not through vengeance, but through unapologetic self-expression, not with anger, but with the radiant silence of self-worth. And because of this, your path is often not an easy one. You are not just learning to set a boundary with one person. You are learning to redraw the map for an entire lineage that taught that shrinking was safer than shining. Your mother may have had to sacrifice her own creative dreams to raise a family. Your grandfather may have swallowed his pride and his bold ideas to keep a steady job. And before them, there may have been a soul whose roar was so completely silenced that their name is all but forgotten, but all of them, in some way, live inside you. That is why your desire to be seen is so profound. That is why the sting of betrayal cuts so deep. You are feeling the weight of generations of stifled brilliance. But dear Leo, if you keep enduring, if you keep dimming your light to make others comfortable, the cycle will continue. It will pass through you and find the next bright soul, a child, an innocent spirit not yet able to defend their own flame. And then the wound will deepen unless you stop it. Right here, now. Stopping this does not mean turning your back on your family. It means beginning to live differently. It means asking yourself, is this my fear, or am I repeating the fear of someone who was once told their light was a threat? It means redrawing the boundaries of your kingdom and saying no to any unspoken demand that keeps you from your throne. It is believing you are worthy of a life that does not require you to apologize for your own brilliance. Sometimes, the most healing thing you can do for your family is to heal yourself, to live so joyfully, so brightly, that you become living proof that your lineage no longer needs to live in the shadows. You are not betraying them, you are liberating them. And in the unseen realms, they know this. The souls whose fires were once dampened are now looking at you and whispering, "Go, shine, do what we never dared to do, reign for us." When you begin this journey, you may feel alone. That is because you are stepping out of an old, invisible structure. You are a pioneer walking into a land no one in your family has ever dared to enter. A space without shame, where love is not paired with control, where your light is not seen as a threat. And only you hold the key. There comes a moment, my magnificent Leo, when the soul no longer needs to prove itself. No need for applause, no need for recognition, no need for a belated apology from those who tried to cast you in shadow. Only one thing matters: to rise silently, decisively, and to never, ever look back. You have walked through so many doors in your life, some closed with the sound of your own quiet heartbreak. Some you shut yourself, still hoping someone would knock, would beg you to come back into the light. But today is different. Today is not about a door. It is a threshold of pure sunlight, an invisible border that once crossed means you no longer belong to the old darkness. Not because someone else chose you, but because you finally chose yourself. You once thought you needed an apology to feel peace. You thought if they could just admit they were wrong for trying to dim your shine, you could finally heal. But then you realized a profound truth. They don't apologize, not because they are strong, but because they are too weak to stand in the full glare of their own actions. And you realize that your freedom doesn't come from their words. It comes from your forgiveness, not for them, but for the part of you that waited so long for a validation that could only ever come from within. You once lived to be loved, to be admired. You might have suffocated your own brilliant ideas just to keep a smile on someone else's face, but chosen for what? To be a courtier in someone else's kingdom when you were born to rule your own. And now, you are no longer there. You are no longer a supporting character in someone else's story. You are returning to your rightful place at the center of your own universe, not with a crash of thunder, but with a single, quiet breath and a conscious choice. The great spiritual texts remind us that those who sow in tears will reap with joy. You are no longer sowing tears in the soil of someone else's insecurities. You are letting go, not of a person, but of the version of you who believed you had to be chosen to be worthy. But you do not need to be chosen, Leo. You are the choice. You do not need to wait at anyone else's gate. You have an entire universe within you, waiting for its queen or king to return. And the most beautiful part of this coronation is that you hold no bitterness. Your peace, your joy, your unapologetic radiance, that is the loudest proof that you no longer belong to the old story. And that alone makes the shadows tremble. Dear Leo, you once fell to your knees, not to beg, but from the sheer exhaustion of holding up a light that others were trying to extinguish. But today, you no longer ask to be seen. You simply are seen. You choose light. You choose to walk away from anything that feels like a shadow. You choose to live. And sometimes, to truly live is to simply no longer react, to no longer be pulled into old dramas, to no longer feel the need to prove that you're okay. You just are. And that is more than enough. Darkness no longer has a doorway into your heart, because that sacred space is now filled with one thing: your triumphant return. You have returned to yourself. You are not writing an ending to the old chapter. You are writing the magnificent first verse of a new one, not with fear, but with fire, not with anger, but with a deep and abiding compassion for your own royal heart.